Welcome back. It's Wednesday. I'm Emiliana Guereca, your host of the Rally Room. So today we're going to break down what is happening, right? We're still in International Women's Month, and of course it would be fitting that we lost an hour of sleep in the spring forward time this past Sunday, especially Sunday when it's International Women's Day. March 8th is marked as International Women's Day. And I know that for the United States, it was marked with, of course, the fight for better conditions for working women. So I want to make sure that we honor that. But we're also talking about theater that's unfolding in real time. So across social media, women are being sold as like the fantasy around traditional wife. Has anybody seen it? It's not great. So it's usually a woman made up to the tens, maybe carrying a baby, maybe cooking dinner, but always looking phenomenal and always an apron. For some reason, they love aprons. But it's really the Tradwife thing is a return to traditional roles for women, and the traditional roles for women involves submission to their husbands, staying out of politics, a life that they're sort of selling to you, but we all understand and know that that's not reality, right? And as we look at what's going on in Washington on the ground, it looks different there too. Women are carrying the chaos. We are working full-time jobs. We're handling families. We're helping communities. In some instances, we're helping our older parents, right? In that sandwich culture that they talk about. But realistically, women are being placed in really powerful positions, which is kudos. But some women are really being used as shields, I'm going to say, right? So they're put in these powerful positions in the public where they face, a policy. They are not the ones making the policy. When we talk about that, it's that they are being used as props for all of society. Think about what a CEO looks like, right? And who's supporting behind the CEO. It's usually a partner, it's usually a wife that's handling all of the household things and all of the schedules and maybe fundraisers or dinners. So women are always carrying a lot of that. And I just say that we're used as props, right? We carry households, we carry workplaces, but we rarely ever get the credit, right? So I think that's what's at top of mind when we think of trad wives. We think of them sort of being put out there as wanting to return to this traditional role, where the powerful one in the room is the man, and it's a really clear indication of where this country's going, right? Like think about Kristi Noem, right? Kristi Noem was out there supposedly the front and center leader of Department of Homeland Security. She was out there putting videos together on how, the cruelty that was out there for Department of Homeland Security and ICE. She was fired. She was fired while she was having a press conference. I think she found out during the press conference or soon thereafter that she was fired. So realistically, what we know in this instance is that she wasn't the real architect of this. The real architect of all of this chaos and cruelty is Stephen Miller. Let's face that fact. Stephen Miller was the one pulling the strings on the back end for ICE and Department of Homeland Security, right? So think of the Tradwife stuff. Think of Erica Kirk, who supposedly is Tradwife, but also CEO of the organization. And now on some board she was put on by President Trump, really, really debunking all of those Tradwives myths that exist, right? That women are staying home and they're super happy to just be handling kids. Kudos for those that do want to do that. But for the most part, women are doing more than just that. I'm going to say we carry the world. Women carry a lot of the burden of households while working and whatnot. So we're going to debunk that whole Tradwife. I don't know of a traditional role for women that exists where they're just super happy to just do household tasks. I don't know of any women like that. And I mean, put it in the chat if you think there are women like that. Kudos to them. But realistically, we're doing more than just handling kids. We're doing more than just working. So I mean, I'll say that. All right. We are going to also talk about what is happening with wars. I mean, we are 11 days into this war in Iran. And realistically, this is a president that ran on a platform where he was against war to the point that he supposedly had spurs during the Vietnam War. So we're 11 days in and we're feeling it. We're feeling it on the ground. The United States is escalating the international conflicts. And while he does that on the ground, we see rising gas prices. I pumped gas into my car today and it cost me $6.38 a gallon. $6.38 a gallon. That's insane. So I will be walking more. So we're also talking about growing unemployment, right? Grocery bills, all of that continues to climb. And so it's really tough out here for folks that are being laid off or have spent months looking for employment. And so a lot of the questions that I am getting back are asking, what is really happening? Is this true chaos or is this a distraction? Is the White House, is the president and the administration creating chaos and a distraction so they won't have to release more of the Epstein files? Keep in mind, they've already deposed Hillary Clinton. They've already deposed Bill Clinton. So we're going to continue to talk about it because I don't think we have all of the information. And when we're talking about women and their disposability, right? We're talking about also Pam Bondi. Keeping in mind that Pam Bondi was the attorney general in Florida, where they were really lenient on Epstein. And so I'm wondering if she's sort of the next one, right? I think that between Pam Bondi, Christine Ohm, and the press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, I think that women are being asked to carry the lies, the burden of lying to the American people. I think that they are being used as props, right? And I think that the messaging it sends out is, look, we're going to put these women in these positions, what we know that truly they're not in a position of power. They're in a position of lying to the American public. They're in a position to lie to us based on what these warmongers at this point and based on what these men asked them to do. So I think Kristi Noem's abrupt removal from Department of Homeland Security tells us a lot about messaging for women. I think that it tells you that you are disposable once you no longer serve their narrative. I don't know about what her experience was, but I do know that she was just let go unceremoniously, right? And someone someone just popped in the chat and says she moved into another position. Understandably so, but we know that in the background it was Stephen Miller that was pulling the strings and will continue to pull the strings. And I know that who they have looked at to replace Kristi Noem is an MMA fighter from Oklahoma. What was his experience, right? So he still needs to go through the Senate confirmation. I'm going to urge everyone to vote no, but we'll have more conversation around that. I'm going to move into what has been happening with Iran. We know that there is 11 days of war now in Iran. We know that Maduro, the leader from Venezuela, is currently still in New York prison. And then in Ecuador, we know that we are involved as well. And then there's rising tension in Cuba. So all around just conflicts. And what does that mean for the United States? So I was looking at what are the questions that people are asking? Like, what is the United States accomplishing with these goals? What they say and what they are doing are two different stories. So Washington's stated goals are including degrading Iran's nuclear program, ballistic missiles, Navy drones, and the control of terror proxies. The United States says that they are on their way to achieving these objectives. I don't believe that, but that is what they are telling us. They are saying that the president of the United States will be able to declare victory in a few weeks of war, and it is costing billions, but we can never find any money for education. We cannot find any money for health care. We cannot find any money to feed and house the homeless. So I don't believe what they're saying. And then there is the other question around, will the United States put boots on the ground? Will the United States put boots on the ground in Iran? And the United States is saying that they are not mobilizing in any conventional way. They will not mobilize ground forces either in the region or here in the United States. And I don't know. The Trump administration has talked about the military objectives, but now we have a new regime, and it is the son of the past dictator. And so I do think it's not a war we should be in. I think that it is a war of choice. I also don't think that they're going to negotiate a settlement agreement, right? So I do think that I think that we're in a time where we thought that maybe they would capitulate, but I don't see that happening, right? Trump is saying that they can achieve the military objectives, and leave in time so that the people can choose a new government. And at 11 days, they've chosen the son of the past regime. So that's what we're seeing. I think it is a war of attrition. That's what's going to happen. I think that the Iranian leaders are calculating, and I think that they are more willing to take risks and more casualties than we are. And I'm against war, so I'll say that. So I do think that it's a risky gamble to be in Iran. It increases the United States. I'm going to say it increases the United States danger there. And for all of the folks in the military, I think that we have heard the numbers. I think we're at 7 killed. So I'm not a fan of this. And one question that has come up a bit is, what would be an acceptable end to this war for the United States? I don't know. I think that the president talked about smashing Iran's missile capabilities and has supported the destruction of nuclear facilities and the killing of Iran's top leaders, which we know they've killed a top leader. But I do think that Tehran is unwilling to trade its uranium enrichment capability, and I do not think that they're going to be negotiating the way the United States thought it would. What we are afraid of, and I know that just today we in California got an alert in the news, and we were alerted that Iran may hit California. And so I think that's the fear that that is the fear that we are looking at, that war may come to the States. And I think that is what we're seeing. And someone's asking, what do we know about the new Iran Supreme Leader? We know that Mojtaba Khamenei, which I may be mispronouncing, is the son of the recently deceased Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei. Many analysts, including myself, I'm not an analyst, but I do believe that he will continue. It's just a continuation of the version of his father, just younger. He's been less public, obviously, but I think it's a continuation. And I also think that when you have killed somebody's father, that you are not going to be as kind or as empathetic as a leader. I think that doesn't bode well for the United States. So that's, I think, where we're at. What I am hoping is that he's able to stabilize Iran, stabilize the country, and that we're able to leave and not be an endless war. So I do think that's my hope, at least. So I think it could be I think it's dangerous for the United States to get into these wars, so we'll see what happens. We're going to continue obviously to monitor this. I think people thought that Iran would capitulate, and I think that that is not going to happen. We're at 11 days in. The fear is real out there. And we live in Los Angeles. I live in Los Angeles, where the diaspora is here, Iranians live here. And so I do think that there's fear around an attack in California, but also be an attack on Iranians living here. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We're going to continue to look at what that looks like, continue to talk about it, because people are afraid of what kind of threats it poses for the United States here in the United States. And I know that today people in California were alerted that there may be some drones California may be hit. It sounded like it was a false alarm, but I think we need to honestly just continue to stay plugged in and continue to call and email our senators and, of course, Congress. Call and continue to talk about defunding this. We do not need any more wars. The Department of War that is being run by Pete Hegseth is doing all of this. And again, another man at the forefront of power. So I do want to talk about making sure that you're contacting your elected officials and letting them know we do not want to be in endless wars. I mean, think about what happened with Afghanistan. We were there for so long. And as soon as we pulled up our troops, it went back to what it was. So I do think we need to make sure that we are emailing, calling our elected officials and really talking about stopping this war. It could be an endless war. I do think that it is also a time where it's dangerous around the draft. Why? Because in 2024 there was legislation signed for registering males from 18 to 24 as a draft in case of war. So that came through in 2024. Here we are in 2026 with a big war on our hands. All right. Coming up, I know it can't all be a drive here, but coming up on the rally point, we are going to ask you to call your senator, to call your congressman or congresswoman to demand that we not fund these endless wars, to demand that President Trump be reined in and his administration, including his Department of War. Congress controls the funds, at least when we have separation of power, right? So making sure that we continue to call, email your congressman, your senator, because democracy only works when people demand accountability. None of us asked for this war. None of us want this war at all. All right, so we're also going to ask folks to stop asking women to be traditional wives. Some of us don't even want to be wives. So realistically, bringing it back, we're going to ask everybody to hold the line and to continue to contact your representatives no matter where you are in the country. War is not good for this country. We've got escalating grocery prices. We've got escalating gas prices, and the quality of life is coming down. So we've got to make sure we continue to advocate, but also staying hopeful. It is still International Women's Month, and I hope that you celebrate it somehow, some way, to make sure that you do some self-care. Yes, I'm going to ask for self-care, and I know someone sent me a thing. The whole self-care is some woke bullshit. It is not. Self-care is for everyone, no matter what your political party is. I'm Emiliana Guereca, your host in the Rally Room. It is Wednesday. This episode will air on Friday. If you're listening in the morning, fire up the second pan of coffee so you can call your senator or your congressman. If you're listening on your way home, make sure you get some tea, get a book, make sure you listen share, and subscribe to the Rally Room. I'm Emiliana. Thank you for joining me.